What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Just Gonna Say It podcast on Tuesday afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We do this every Tuesday. Come and hang out, talk about guitar stuff. And every once in a while, we do dumb questions from the comments section, or there's no such thing as dumb questions, but today there's some dumb ones, which is kind of fun. To me, it's fun. Whoops. Get this sweet cup to drink water out of it. You can seal it off. It's pretty awesome. So we're gonna go through some questions today. For those of you who are new to the channel, we talk about guitar stuff all week long on various videos and whatnot, and that's kind of it. But Tuesday is fun. I like a lot of times on Tuesday we will talk about stuff that kind of comes out of comments that people make and questions that they have, and more conceptual kind of stuff, not really, how-to stuff. That's on Monday. So this is going to be fun. So I hope everybody's having a good day. Obviously, as usual, we do all of these live streams. When you see them live, they're ad-free. We shut the ads off for that, so you don't have to deal with that. So if you want to support the channel, there's a couple things you can do. You can go in the description and use any of the links. Those are affiliate links. Those will support the channel. You can use a super chat in the little chat section over here while we're talking, or you can use a super thanks after the fact. Or really, you can go to Dylan Talks Tone and buy pickups. That's the big thing, because that's what our real job is around here. And so yeah, super fun. Hope everybody's having a great day. Let's jump straight into these questions, shall we? Some of these came from very recent videos. The first one is interesting one. We're talking about the orientation of magnets, okay? In our video on, this video came out on Sunday or something. Your treatment of this topic was largely vague and abstract. Yeah, intentionally. I'm not complaining about that, but there was a question. Here's a question to filter out some variables. Let's say that I build a 2-pickup guitar, one pickup being RWRP. Okay, so that's obviously that can't happen. And want to be able to select both pickups simultaneously and have a humbucking configuration. So you actually have to take both pickups into consideration when you do that. It can't just be one. So you have to wind the pickup. You have to hook up the pickup electrically correct, and the magnetic polarity has to be correct. So electrically phased, they need to be correct, and the polarity needs to be correct. And they both need to be opposite for them to be RWRP. How does oriented versus unoriented figure into this? Is unoriented somehow not correlated to having north and south poles? Okay, so oriented is, honestly, that is how the magnet is made. Okay, and so we get into a bit of a conversation here. I'm just going to call this dude out, because I said that's not oriented, that's polarity. So there's a difference, okay, because it's the construction of the magnet. Well, then you didn't even come close to correctly defining oriented versus oriented. You've spoken vague, uneducated ways using terms like prefers north or prefers south. The terms north and south apply specifically to polarity. Do you not know what you're talking about? You want to take another stab at speaking accurately and coherently? Come on, let's hear it. Okay, so I love it when people call me out on stuff when they have when they don't understand things correctly. So, okay, polarity. Oh, hang on, we got a super chat from Dave. Thanks for the ad free. Thank you, Dave. Okay, so let's talk about this. The orienting of a magnet, and I was very clear about this in the video. An orienting of the magnet has to do with the actual construction of the magnet itself. And when I say construction, I know I talked about this in the video, that most of the time it's sand cast. It has to do with the grain structure of the magnet itself, okay? So it doesn't matter whether it's north or south. That's polarity, and that is actually done afterwards. Okay? So you can have an unoriented magnet or an oriented magnet that can be put into a magnetizer like I have in there, either which way, and it doesn't matter. So the polarity of the magnet can be determined later. They're two completely different things, and they're not in the same sentence. And I said that in the video very clearly. What orienting and unorienting is it's the actual grain structure of the internal construction of the magnet. And when I say it prefers one way or the other, what I mean by that is, and I even said this in the video very clearly too, that when you have an unoriented magnet, it doesn't matter. You can make it polarity north, polarity south, top, bottom, whatever. And the strength will be what it is. An oriented magnet prefers it one way, meaning that if you set the polarity of the magnet with my machine over there, and I do it this way, it will be stronger than if I do it the other way. So prefer might be the wrong term, but you have to understand something here. So that when we do these videos, the idea is to be I try to be inclusive of all like knowledge bases. And so sometimes when you think you're smarter than me, or when you think you're smarter than the average bear, then sometimes it doesn't work out very well, because the idea is that we're trying to really make this accessible for everybody when it comes to the basic knowledge of the thing. And later on, he's like, well, I don't even understand the point of your video. The point of the video was there is no point. The point of the video is it's not worth arguing about. Oriented versus unoriented, unless you're on the engineering side of the project. So if I'm designing a pickup from scratch, it really can matter. It can matter. It's not better or worse. It's just a feature that you have to take into consideration in the design process. Oriented magnets are not required, but they should be factored. Like, you should make sure that you do that math to make sure that you're getting the desired sound that you want. Beyond the actual design process, this doesn't matter at all. So for 99% of people, and for those dudes that jump in forums and be like, my pickups have oriented magnets, therefore they are more orienty and they are more fancy and I have snobbier pickups than you. Okay, you can let them think that, but it doesn't really matter. I could, and I said this in the video too, I could give you one of each and you wouldn't be able to tell me which one is oriented and which one is not. And I would pretty much challenge anybody who's not a pickup builder to do that. Like if I sat around with, the guys from Throwback, or if I sat around with, some guys that really understood that stuff, then we could challenge each other and come up with that. But for the most part, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So the reason I brought this question up is because this happens a lot of times where somebody would be like, you're dumb and you're not smart enough to answer this and you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, I really do. But the problem is that a lot of times what we're trying to do, and I hope that other folks that watch these videos understand this, that we're really trying to make it to where everybody can understand. He's like, you're just going to do damage control of the podcast. I don't care about that guy. He can pound sand. If he doesn't want to watch our videos, don't watch them. That's okay. That's totally fine. Telling me I'm going to ruin my reputation by addressing this subject and all that. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. Do your thing, buddy. You're welcome to do your thing. But I think it's really important to, when we look at these various concepts, to not overthink them. We've been talking about this a bunch lately. I don't want to dumb it down, but it's not dumbing it down because that's disrespectful to anybody who wants to learn. It's literally just making it simpler so the folks that don't have an engineering background can understand, right? It's like going to any kind of class or anything, and they use a whiteboard animation. You're like, this is stupid. It's a cartoon, but it's a great way to illustrate stuff, right? And so for the folks that think they're smarter than they are, or whatever, then they're not going to like those videos. They're definitely not going to like them. But as far as damage control, if those folks are so stuck on what they think they know, then they don't need to be here, because apparently they already know. So, and that's why I didn't like that response from him, because what will happen a lot of times is those know-it-all dudes will answer in a way where you can tell they think they already know the answer, so they're trying to challenge you. And I don't have time for that crap. And the reason I wanted to address this one is because I wanted to have fun with it for the purposes of talking about it. Because, kind of make an example of it. Is your mic working? I think so. Oh, shoot. It's not. Thank you. Hold, please.
How about now? So I was probably using the microphone from the room because I had it switched. Sorry. Hey, guys, this is great. Thank you for telling me. I appreciate that. All right. North-south orientation of a magnet's poles determine polarity. That is correct. But an unoriented versus oriented magnet is different. That's the actual construction of the magnet itself on a more or less on a granular level. But it doesn't really matter. It's another aspect, but to the end user, it doesn't really matter. Unless you want to be a know-it-all in the comment section. How difficult is fixing the lead wire on a 1970 Gibson humbucker when some idiot splits the wire in an attempt to coil tap without understanding it's two conductor only? You can fix it, but you have to. I'm not going to do it for you. We don't do that stuff. But you need to find somebody who knows what they're doing, because you can ruin a pickup real quick. It can be done. Commenting on appealing to a wide variety of knowledge levels and bases, what matters is enough knowledge to make a wise purchasing choice in the face of unnecessary BS. Yeah, absolutely. And that's really the point of that video. And that's going to be a point of a lot of videos coming up that I've kind of got in the pipeline, is we hear these things, right? And that's honestly what my channel does a lot of. We hear these things and we see them in forums and we see people arguing about them. And it's like, okay, this is another dumb argument that doesn't need to be argued about, right? That's basically what it is. Oh, and the reason my microphone was off is because I had a Zoom meeting last night with a veterinarian for my dog, and I was using this camera and I didn't set it back to the proper settings for podcasts. So thank you for catching that. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thanks for catching that. All right, let's I tell you what. Let's see. This one is done. Let's go on to the next one. Yeah. So if you want to be a know-it-all in the comments and just be like, I'm going to try to make them look stupid, you're welcome to. And you might get some satisfaction out of that, but just understand that I'm going to get some satisfaction out of you laughing about it, because I don't really care. If a person has different alnico magnets that are not marked, how can you tell the difference between them? Okay, so the way you would do that is you would basically have a Gauss meter. You can buy one on Amazon. If you go in the description of this video, there will be a link to our Amazon store, and we have the one that we use in there. It's about $100. I think if you're a guitar tinkerer and you have a bunch of tinkery stuff and you do this a lot and you have a drawer full of them, right? Like a drawer full of parts, and you're building in this and that, I think you should buy a Gauss meter. I think you should buy a Gauss meter and a polarity checker, because it makes, then you can really have some educated guess about what you're doing. Like you could just have a drawer full of pickups and you can really start to figure out, okay, how strong are these magnets? You can have between that and a polarity checker, you can start to put stuff together and probably use a bunch of junk in a drawer way effectively. So if you're a hobbyist that goofs around with this stuff a lot, definitely get one. I think they're about $100, something like that. The one that I have, and it measures in Tesla and it measures in Gauss, which Tesla is just a multiplier basically, for lack of a better word. But yeah, I think it's awesome. I think you should definitely get one. They're super fun. They're fun to play with. Yeah, between that and polarity. I don't have a dumb guitar question, just listening. Change my pedal board to a Temple. Oh, right on. Yeah, I've got one of those. Those are cool. Yeah, no, that's cool. All right, next one. I play at Epiphone Casino with Gibson Custom Shop 330 P90s in it. It's basically impossible to get a clean tone. Okay, so what I would do in that case is get a more powerful amp. So here's a fun thing. I want to do another video about how I use a modeler, because to me, there's where modeling comes in, like super handy. Because as an extension, and I don't want to get too much into this because I want to put it in a video, but as an extension of what we talked about the other day, a person like in your situation with P90s, and you can't get a clean tone, the reason is you don't have your amp's not powerful enough. You don't have any headroom. So if you have a 20 watt amp or a 30 watt amp and you can't ever get clean, 30 should get you clean, but you might need 50, right? 50 will definitely get you to a clean spot with P90s. But then that's so loud. So there's where a modeler comes in, because then you can say, oh, you know what? I'm going to use a Marshall, JTM or whatever, or, some kind of plexi deal, and it's 50 watts. And now I can get clean tones with this modeler at playable volumes. And then I can stack pedals in front of it and all that kind of stuff. Because the way I use a modeler is just like an amp. Basically, to me, which is what it should be, to me, it's a bunch of different amps. And so you just pick it for that situation, and it gives you that. And so that's what I would do in that case is I would use a high wattage profile, like a JTM 45 or a JCM 800, or I don't know, something with some big time wattage behind it, a twin. But twins are so ridiculously loud that you can't really use them, per se. So, in a lot of circumstances, they're just too loud. So get a digital profile one, and then you can build whatever you want on top of it, and you'll be able to have some clean tones available. That's what I would do. All right. Stop dyeing your hair. You look goofy. That's a funny one. I don't. It's fun. And what's funny about that is people get really hung up about my head. I don't know why. It's a weird one. Maybe they're insecure about their own hair, or premature balding, or I don't know what. But probably this guy's mom needs to get better internet so that he can have a higher definition video or something, so he can see my grays, because I do have grays poking through. It's really cool. So my dad, I think he's 75, and I want to say he didn't start going gray until maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, way older than me. So I feel pretty lucky that I don't have to have any gray hair, which is pretty cool. Oh, those goofy glasses got to go too. Yeah, ageism is a thing. Making fun of people with disabilities. Good job, Holmes. Like I said, maybe your mom needs to get better. Is this him again? I didn't realize this was the same guy 3 times in a row. This video is so dumb that it forced me to unsubscribe. Oh, don't let the door hit you on the way out. What do they say? This isn't an airport. You don't need to make an announcement. Um, that was on the Timu guitar, and that was fun. Making videos is really fun, and I really enjoy it. So if you see a dumb one every once in a while that you think is dumb, if that moves you to have to unsubscribe because you think that you have to be so serious about guitars all the time that you can't have any fun, even though it's called playing guitar and this should be fun, then I don't know what to tell you, because I'm going to have fun. So we're always going to have fun. I think it's funny. Let's see. Tonex 1 is cheap. Yeah, that's a good place to start. A Tonex in general would be a great place to start with that. Let's see. Dylan is going to eat sour grapes because I'm honest, constructively. I really hope. Okay. I swore I just watched an infomercial from the early 90s. Okay, so that's interesting. That was on, I think that was on a video about, oh, I know what it was. It was a short that was pointing to a video. We're starting to do every year. We did it last year, and so I'm doing it again. I'm running through each of the sections on our website to just tell you what we have available. So I think we started with P90s, and it was just like a 5-minute little, like, okay, this is the products we have. This is how you can buy them. Blah, 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 blah. This is what it is. And then I put that video on the website, so it makes it easier for people to shop. It's not really meant to even be like a YouTube video for thousands of people to watch. I mean, I hope they do, but it's really more for, it lives on YouTube, but then I put it on the website so that people can like see. So if you go to our website and you go to the little drop down box where it says P90s, that video will be right there, and it'll just kind of explain to you what we have available right now. But to be honest with you, every video is an infomercial. Go to Dylan Talk Stone and buy pickups. See, that's what the purpose of it is. So yeah, that's what the purpose of YouTube is for me. Let's see what else we got. Incredible that no one has made silver or gold wound pickups yet. Actually, they have. I want to say Seymour Duncan made the Zephyr pickups, and they were made out of silver. Silver's really brittle and hard to work with and very, very expensive. And those pickups were about $1,000. I was going to buy a pair. I was thinking about buying a pair just to see, but then one of my friends who follows the channel, and he's a guitar tech out in Kansas, said that he installed them into a guitar, and he's like, they're cool, but there's not anything exciting. It's hard to say anything exciting about them. And he said, and then the guy took the pickups out and put a set of my DAFs in the guitar. And I was like, well, if that's the answer, then nobody's going to want to buy them from me when I'm done, because they're expensive, right? And it's just going to I'm probably going to have a very similar, I trust what he says about them, you know? So I was like, all right. So I never ended up doing that video and never ended up buying them, because I didn't want to be stuck with them. And I also I just am not that interested, because they are super expensive for what, right? What magic are you going to unlock? Besides being able to tell your friends, that you spent $1,000 on pickups. So yeah. Yes, we're talking about the Zephyrs. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's why I've never done them. They are out there. I've been thinking about getting one of your P90s, but it will be going in a Harley Benton Double Cut Junior, so I won't get one if you would be mad about this. Dude, I say do it. I think one of my pickups is probably the best thing that could happen to one of those guitars, and I think you would really enjoy it. I would say go all in. I think one of the things that people don't, I wish they would understand this. I am not interested in Harley Benton. I don't care if you have them. I don't eat meat. Okay? I don't. But you can eat a burger right in front of me and I don't care. Don't care at all. Doesn't matter at all. I don't like, I don't know, what else do I not like? Okra. I can hear you laughing at me. But she'll eat it in front of me. I don't care. Like, you can play Harley Benton in front of me. You can put your stuff in my stuff in a Harley Benton, and I'll be happy for you because I think it'd be a great improvement. I just don't want one. And I don't think that they need any of my airtime. Yeah, that's it. All right, let's see. Still no humbucker sized P90s. I know y'all had to stop doing them for cost supply issues during COVID, but we're in halfway through 2025 now. Yeah, that's a funny, snarky comment. So, I'll tell you what the issue was. There was a part that was necessary to make those, that my vendor stopped selling because, as you're probably aware, most of the pickups parts, most of like even the magnet technology, the flat work, the 4-bond fiber material in Strat pickups and stuff, that's all guitar secondary, right? Even pickup wire. I remember one time, it's probably, 8 or 9 years ago, where there was sort of a bump on 42 gauge wire because Boeing bought it all. And it was sort of like, oh crap, are we going to be able to get pickup wire? Right? So the guitar industry, when it comes to the raw materials, is like a secondary thing. And there was a piece that goes in those humbucker size P90s. And it was a phenolic tube that had threading in it. And it was a standoff that was made for another industry. Well, that other industry ended up changing so basically, this other industry was buying all of these tubes and in this particular size. Well, it just so happened that size was the size you need to make a pickup with. Well, when that industry changed the standard size that they needed, they no longer made that part anymore because guitar was like a secondary thing to it. So you just couldn't get it anymore. It just disappeared. In fact, I called my vendor. I'm like, where are these things? And he told me this whole story, what I'm just telling you. And so we've been without them for about 4 years now. But now 3D printing is a thing. And I actually have been, we are in the prototyping phase right now. I have been talking to my buddy who runs a 3D print shop, and he and I spec'd it all out a couple weeks ago, and we're running through prototyping it right now. And if that part can be done with a 3D printer, then we will be back in humbucker size P90 production. And I would say if a month would be a long time, because I have to redesign. We had to redesign it. So basically, the pickup's held together a certain way, and I can't hold it together that way anymore. We have to do it a completely different way. So basically what that means is all of the flat work that I used before, I can't use. So all of the flat work, I have to cut my own custom flat work. We have to basically redesign the thing from top to bottom. So the top piece of flat work will be different. The bottom piece of flat work will be different. The core will be different. But once it's all done, it will sound exactly the same and be the same because of the measurements and everything. But it's just a whole thing. We're just having to completely re-engineer the entire thing. So it's super fun. I love this kind of stuff. But if you're wondering why it's taking so long, that's exactly Yeah, okra's gross, dude. Yeah, I was gonna say 3D print them. Yeah, but see, like 5 years ago, when that 3D printing was cool 5 years ago, but it wasn't like now. Everybody's like, oh, just 3D print it. You could do it. And I didn't have the resources available, and I wasn't gonna buy a 3D printer, and I didn't know anybody. But my buddy's really good with this stuff, and he's got a whole company. He like has a whole bunch of them, and he does a whole bunch of stuff for a whole bunch of different people. So, and so now I have that at my disposal, or at least close. He lives a half hour away, so it's super easy to do all that stuff. Dylan, any chance at getting a rail P90? Nope. Or can I just use a piece of metal held down by the pole pieces to achieve the same thing? No. No, you have to use a core, the core of the pickup in the middle. And I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to do it. I don't like them. I don't like that at all. I don't like that idea at all. So, can I get some P90s with no signature on the covers? Nope, you cannot. Not from us. Everything that goes out of here, unless you are a person who's buying lots of pickups from us for a guitar brand, and you want to private label some stuff, that's a whole different pricing structure. That's a whole different everything. But if a pickup goes out of here, it's going to have my name on it. CNC machines, laser cutters, and 3D printers have changed everything. Oh, absolutely. Dude, I tell you what, buying, because I have 2 lasers here, and the stuff that we're able to do. So that's the other thing. 5 years ago, I didn't have a laser. So now I do. So that might be even more so important. Because like I said, we have to redesign everything from top to bottom. And I have to be able to prototype it in-house and try it and play with it. So, because it's not just going and hitting a button and printing something out, right? For those of you that are in no computer-aided cutting computer-aided anything, it's more than just hitting a button. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Hours and hours and hours to come up with a final product. But I didn't have that resource because I didn't have a laser. And so now we have a big CO2 laser that can cut lots of stuff. And then we have a fiber laser too. So now that I have that, now I can work with my buddy and be like, okay, you prototype this part and I can prototype this part. And over the weekend, we can put them together and we can make a lot of progress. Where before, sending drawings out, having it drawn by somebody else, because I suck at that. So having it drawn by somebody else, sending it out, prototyping it. I was actually working on prototyping some other stuff today for some stuff that I don't do. And the cost was astronomical to say, okay, I have this drawing and it was a piece that I wanted water jetted. And I was like, I would like this piece water jetted, blah, 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 blah. And it was like, holy crap. If that costs me that much, I'll never be able to sell it. It's just too expensive. So having the resources myself, and of course I can't buy a water jet. That's a lot of money. So we had to strike that idea. But for the laser stuff, you can understand now where we couldn't do it before at all. Now it's totally possible. So it's super fun. That stuff is so fun, man. It's a lot of work, but I really, really love it. I've seen people measure pickups in terms of Henrys. What is that? Henrys is a measurement of the inductance of a coil. So the guy from the first comment is probably not going to like this answer because I'm going to make it real simple and it's probably going to sound too elementary for him. But basically, think of it as the efficiency of the coil, like how good it is at being able to do what it needs to do. Because that efficiency will then translate in a way to the available frequency response of that pickup. And that's like a moving target, right? So you can take a few measurements. You can take the resistance of the wire. You can take the inductance of the coil, which is what Henrys are. And you can take the capacitance of the coil, and then you can extrapolate sort of where the frequency response of that pickup is going to be. It's not perfect. It's better to actually inject a signal and figure out where the resonant peak is and all that. But Henry's is one way you can do it. Yeah. Super cool. We don't publish that stuff because, again, the guy from earlier won't like this, but the bottom line is that, if you give consumers too many details about stuff that's real technical, it can become confusing on the user end. So if we were to put all of those specs on our website, there would be a few people. Here's a couple things that would happen. One is a lot of people would be confused because they wouldn't totally understand what that measurement means. Two, there will be a bunch of people who think they know what it means and then make a decision based on that, and it will be wrong because they didn't take into consideration these other things. So it kind of, because what happened, well, I want to pick up that has this many Henrys. Okay. Let me ask you these other 5 questions. Okay, I got that. You want how many Henrys in your pickup? Okay. But what about all these other questions that matter? Maybe even more, or at least a part of a package to help you make a decision on this pickup. And you're so hung up on that one stat. It happens all the time with DC resistance. Well, I want a hotter pickup because I want it, it's just the wrong way to look at it. But because you have that number that everybody wants to see, people want to see that number, and then they make a decision based on that, even though it's not always the right decision. So I don't want to put more of that stuff out and just further confuse people. Because the bottom line is a really good pickup will do most things that you want it to do. Right? So obviously on the extremes, there are things. But let's say you could take a low power humbucker like our DAF and play basically any kind of music with it. Jazz, rock, metal. Now, what it won't do is like the really tight, super chuggy stuff, right? But that's not always the case because it also depends on the rest of your rig. But as a general rule, it probably won't. But other than that, it'll do everything else. And a lot of people want to like pigeonhole a pickup and be like, well, it's this many Henrys and it's this many whatever, so I'm going to use it for this music. Well, really, okay, it probably will work for that, but the bottom line is you don't have to think about it that hard. Most really good, well-made pickups and properly executed pickups will do a lot of different things. And you don't need to put the country, the jazz, the rock, the blues, whatever label on it. Because they didn't do that before, right? Les Pauls were just Les Pauls, and everybody was making all kind of music with them until the 80s. And then when the 80s came along, then you're like, okay, now we have, until the aftermarket came along. Then you have DiMarzio coming out with, Super Distortion and all these various pickups. And then Seymour Duncan did the same thing with the JB and the Jazz and all that. So now you have, all of a sudden, this pickup is special for this. This pickup is special for this. This pickup is special for this because this many Henrys, this much DC resistance, blah, 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 blah. 5 years before that, before any of that stuff existed, everybody's just like, rock out, bro. Nobody cared. So my goal is to keep it as simple as it used to be with a little bit more direction for the folks that need things that are a little more specialized, but not near what we think they need to be. Let's see. Let me see what else we got going here. What's up with the hat? What is up with my head? People are really, no, I'm definitely not bald. Definitely not bald. Whoa, this is really tiny. See, and now this is why I need glasses. People are like asking me about my goofy glasses. I just built a real nice fender Telecaster for under $600 with a made in USA body and a used MIM 60th anniversary neck with custom set of Van Zandt vintage replacement pickups. And it legit sounds like the 50s Telecaster. Weighs in at 5 pounds 11 ounces. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. It's as good or better than any guitar Fender makes for under $1,000. I was blown away with how good it turned out. That's because you used a bunch of Fender parts. So if you use a bunch of Fender parts to build a guitar to be just as good as a Fender, it's probably going to sound like a Fender and feel like a Fender. So, you know, you built a parts caster, but it was with a bunch of Fender parts. So I don't know what you expected. Interesting. Oh, hang on. That was that one. Dylan, you said Marcus King gig was terrible. I know why I put this in here. Okay, so we did this video, and I know what it was. It was our gear news from last week because we're doing gear news again, right? So, and we talked about the Marcus King Gibson, and I was like, that guitar is really, really cool. And a few people were like, I thought you didn't like Marcus King. I'm like, okay, let's back up for a second. I don't like Marcus King. Went to one of his shows, it was terrible. I'm not a fan of that kind of music. But it's okay to like the guitar, right? Like the guitar's cool. I like his guitar. And if he came over right now and like wanted to hang out with me and play guitar and stuff and have a beer, I bet he's really cool. I'm just not a fan of that jam bandy blues kind of Allman Brothers-y, Grateful Dead-y, jam bandy blues stuff. I just don't like it. But the guitar's fine, right? So, yeah. It's okay to like certain things and not like certain things, just FYI. Sweetwater isn't even checking for high frets anymore. I'm not sure they even check anything in the last couple of years. These comments usually come from people who haven't bought a guitar in the last couple of years. And they've heard about it on the internet. And then the other thing I would say to that is return it. If the guitar's not right, return it. There's no point in making a comment about it on the internet. Sweetwater, Gibson, Fender, Ibanez, ESP, all these companies can't fix anything because you complain about it on the internet. They fix it when they are made to fix it. If you have a problem with a guitar, send it back. And it might not seem like a big deal to that you're doing any difference, making any difference, but it's all numbers for them. So if they have a percentage, it might be 2.5%, it might be 5%. It gets above that number of returns, or even within the factory, they have a percentage. I know Fender, I know what the percentage is. I don't know if I'm supposed to say it, but they have a percentage of it's like, okay, the guitar gets done and they do the final inspection on it and it has a problem and needs to go back to another department. They have a percentage goal for that. And if it's above that, then they go and look at processes and try to fix stuff. Same thing with Sweetwater. Same thing with any other brand like that. It's kind of one of those things where, but we have to feed that. We have to return stuff. And I say this all the time. If your vacuum cleaner only worked halfway, you would return it. If something was broke on anything you bought in consumer land, you would return it. If you buy something from Amazon, you drop it off at UPS and they credit your account in 2 seconds. Sweetwater, musician's friend, anybody else, doesn't matter where you buy it from. As long as they have a good return policy, use it. It's inconvenient because new guitar day is ruined because you have a guitar with a problem, but it's better for everybody. It's how things get fixed. Complaining about it on the internet just makes you look like a moron. Actually returning the guitar actually fixes the problem. So make sure that you do that. I would say. And if you think that they didn't fix it, or if they didn't inspect it at Sweetwater, call them out on it. Just tell them, I got this guitar and there's a high fret. Did you guys even do anything? They'll fix you up. And be nice about it, but they'll fix you up. Let's see. Yeah. People talking about guitars they got. Cool, man. Well, thanks everybody for coming and hanging out today. I appreciate y'all coming and hanging out and doing the podcast with me. These questions ones are fun. I always say that the comment section wants to keep me honest. I'm going to keep the comment section honest, which is what we do. And yeah, it worked out pretty well. You guys, it's been super fun. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you for the gear news tomorrow.